Homemade pasta. There is nothing like it. And with these three simple ingredients, I'm going to show you a number of different types of pasta that you can make from scratch at home. Hello everybody, this is Dr. Ray Infante of Spine and Sport Annapolis, and this is another episode of Cooking with your Chiro. I had the really good fortune this past fall of going to the Puglia region of Italy and taking a culinary course for a week at the Awaiting Table Cookery School. And the first thing that we did every day was we would make two different types of pasta. And I'm going to show you a couple of pastas that we made just using these very simple ingredients. I've got some semolina. They use barley, which was kind of unique, and just regular water, regular tap water. So we're going to try that, and we're going to see how these come out, and hopefully it's going to inspire you to make some of these dishes at home. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're just going to measure out some ingredients, and I'm going to use that term pretty loosely. Basically, it's kind of a 2-to-1 mixture of semolina to barley. So I'm just going to just simply get 2 scoops. I'm going to make them big scoops because I need to make a lot of pasta. So 2 scoops of semolina, and I'm going to do 1 scoop of barley. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix this up a little bit. So if you want to do this at home, and I think 1 serving would probably be like 2 cups of semolina flour to 1 cup of barley flour. That would give you about the right proportions. And I've done this a few times already, and I've never seen really an issue with it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour this out onto my work surface. And I'm going to make a well. So I'm going to make a well here, and that's where I'm just going to put the water. And we make the well because we just don't want the water to kind of drift away. And if it does, it's not that big of a deal. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not using egg in my pasta, you have to understand that the Puglia region is a pretty poor region, and their cooking is known as cucina, povera. And eggs would really be considered a luxury. So they didn't have eggs. So, and this is how my grandmother would make it, but she used regular flour. So we didn't have eggs. So we didn't put eggs in the pasta. So we just used water and flour. So this is how they would do it there, and that's how I'm going to do it. And then what we're going to start doing is we're just going to start incorporating the sides in. Just kind of folding that in. Trying to keep it from spilling out. And again, if it does, it's not that big of a deal. Everything about Italy is regional. Their cooking, their wine, their cheeses, everybody thinks that theirs is the best. I find that they're all pretty fantastic. I may have to add a little bit more water. The nice thing about pasta dough is that you cannot really overknead it. It's not like bread. If you overknead it, it's going to get real tough, or other types of pastries. And what I didn't do, and I should have, but I'm not sure if I'm going to need to, is add a little bit of semolina flour to the side, just in case it's too wet or I don't like the texture. I'll add that to it. So now the dough is starting to come together, and I'm going to wear some of it, and I should be wearing an apron, but I'm not, so that should be great. Alright, I'm going to have this come together, and then I'll come right back. Alright, so as you can see, I've kind of got my dough a little bit more together. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to knead this. So what I normally do is I set a timer for about 10 minutes. Now, the thing about 10 minutes is that you're going to get a workout here. So like I feel like this dough is a little sticky, so I definitely want to get a little bit more flour. But when you are kneading the dough, you're just basically taking it, pushing with the heel of the hand. You don't want to push it so hard that you feel like it's ripping on the other side. And then you just give it a little bit of a quarter turn. And that's just basically how I go about doing it. I just keep going in a little bit of a quarter turn. And then there is a little bit of a feel to this, what's going to feel right. And I think it's not going to be bad. You put this work into this pasta dough, it's always going to be good, I promise. I'm sorry, I have this trash in my hand. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're just going to keep working this. And I said 10 minutes. I think when you get pretty proficient, you could probably knock that time down to about 8. Now if I were to kind of go back over some of the ingredients again, if you want to do it in grams, I would do 200 grams of semolina flour to 100 grams of barley flour, and I'd say about probably 8 ounces of lukewarm water, just to kind of start out with. And then you just kind of see, it just depends, because humidity plays a factor, temperature plays a factor. So we're just going to keep kneading this for 10 minutes, and then what we're going to do is we're going to let it rest, and we're going to let it rest for about 30 minutes. Just because you want to let the dough to continue to hydrate, and you want the gluten to kind of form a little bit better. Now, they say that if you just start rolling it out, the dough's going to spring back, and it's just not going to be good. Now, I have to say, when we were in Puglia, we had really no problems. We would just start making our shapes right there. Now, I don't know if that has to do with the fact that we use barley, and we're not using complete semolina or double zero flour. It just depends. And here in Maryland, I was able to find the semolina flour at the Italian market in Annapolis, but I've also ordered it off of Amazon. Very easy. Again, this dough is a little sticky. I want to make it a little bit drier. And again, that's just something that you kind of learn over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish kneading this, and then I'll come. Alright, so we have our pasta dough here. It's been resting for about a half hour. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this because I have guests coming over tonight for dinner. So I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to work with a portion of it. Now, if you were just going to make one type of pasta, you'd want to work with the whole piece of dough. Whatever pasta you aren't working, whatever dough you aren't working with, you want to keep it covered so it doesn't dry out. So what I want to do is I want to get a little flour down on my work surface. See how this works out. So we're going to start by making a couple of different types here. I'm going to see how this works. Alright. Got your handy rolly pin. I'm going to roll that out. And we're going to want to make this pretty thin. Don't want to Now this is not going to look very large just because I am conserving a lot of dough. I'm just going to show you how to make a couple of different types. So I'm not making for volume. I never understood how people could roll out this dough and it'd be like perfectly round or perfectly square. I just could never do that. So we're just gonna, you've got to work with what God gives you. So. All right. So that's pretty thin. Alright, so the first shape I'm going to make is called the Sombrero. And what you do is you take a glass I made a little cutout. I'm going to take my pastry scraper and I'm just going to cut it in half so that I have a half moon. And from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the sides, kind of mash them together. This is actually the first pasta that I made when I was in Lecce, which was the town that I was in. And you kind of make this little cone, and then you take an empty water bottle. I've got a Pellegrino here. You put the tip in the top, and then you fold it over. And we get our little Mexican sombrero. And let's do one more. That looked actually pretty decent. And again, we're going to put it over, fold the sides down, and we get a little hat. So that's one type. I'm going to put these on the parchment to dry. So another type of pasta that we made was twisted tagliatelle. So tagliatelle, they're kind of like ribbons. So I'm going to start with that. Now let's show you what we do. These were also somewhat difficult, but we're just going to fold the dough over itself like this. Hoping that doesn't stick. And there we have. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to cut these in ribbons. So I'm going to get rid of the end piece there. Okay. So here we have our tagliatelle, just like that. Again, you can use, for making tagliatelle, you could use a pasta machine. So with the twisted tagliatelle, what you're doing is you're just kind of twisting the ends. And this goes in a great dish made with chickpeas called chichariatria, and it's kind of a chickpea soup, but it's really kind of hearty. All right, I'm going to go over how to make cavatelli and maybe a couple of orecchiette. What you do is you take your dough in a nice ball here, and what you're going to do is you're going to try to create a rat's tail. So the way you do that is by starting to roll it out. And I'm kind of giving it a little bit of traction or distraction as I'm doing this. Just lengthening that rope, because that's what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create a rope. Starting to come into shape a little bit. And then what I'll do is I'll cut off the end here. And anytime you're making cavatelli or orecchiette, the key is making sure that you have a template so that the piece comes out kind of the same size, and that way it's going to cook evenly, and you're not going to get some that are very mushy and some that are hard. So what you're going to do is then you're just going to kind of line it up, and you're going to make a little cut. So when I do my cavatelli, I will go from the cut end and then just take my knife and I just bring the knife towards me. And then I get my cavatelli that way. So again, I turn it, cut side, I'll do a couple more like that. So here, I'm going to use this piece here. So I've cut it, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it. So I've got the cut side, and then I'm just going to take my knife and roll it. And you get a nice, even cavatelli like that. Now, if you're making orchetti, well, it starts the same way. You're just going to cut, but I kind of do like this little scoop when I make my orchetti. So I'll kind of come in and I'll kind of twist it like that. And then what you do is you take it and then you fold it back over your finger. And what it does is it kind of creates this rough texture on the outside. And that really catches the sauce that you're going to use quite nicely. So let's go another one with that. So there's our orchetti, cut side. I'm going to do kind of like a little scoop. And then I'm going to fold it back over my finger. And that's going to kind of expose this rough surface for the sauce. And they're pretty good just like that. I mean, they're pretty even in size, so I'm pretty happy with those. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make cepe, another type of pasta. So what you do is you just take this little like wooden skewer you can use, or this metal skewer. Actually, I got this from in Italy. And you're just kind of rolling it around. Just like that. And hopefully it slides off. There you go. And it's got a little hole in the middle. So in Italy, what they will tend to do with the orchetti and the cepe is that they will blend these and put them into a bag for newlyweds, and they call this the marito mix. Now, I don't think I need to be too graphic here, just kind of use your imagination as to what they're trying to say to the newlyweds. But it's called the marito mix. Alright, so the summation of our work here, we've made a number of different types of pasta. I didn't have the twisted tagliatelle on here, but we made some cavatelli, we made some sombrero, we made some orchetti, and we made some cepe. And if you remember, sometimes for newlywed gifts, they will put the cepe and the orchetti together, and they call it the marito mix. We discussed that earlier. So what you like to do now is you just like to let that pasta rest at least a half hour, maybe, before you put it in the water. The longer that it rests, the drier it gets, just the longer it's going to take to cook. And you just boil it with a lot of salt, because it's not going to absorb the salt. So I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to make fresh pasta. If you're ever interested in taking a fantastic week of culinary training, go to the Awaiting Table Cookery School, and that is located in Lecce, Italy. They do a fantastic job. If you like some of our videos, click the like button or subscribe to our channel, and there's going to be more cooking from the Lecce region coming up in the next few months. So enjoy. Thank you.